Alright, we got 360 laser down across here. Got our floor track. And we run into yet our next issue. We are good right there. You can see we're nice and lined up with the existing framing. And of course, par for the course on this job. This wall is almost 3/8 out of plumb in 9 feet. Good job. That's all over this place. The layout has been where they were center on the bottom and then 5/8 over on the top on a lot of the studs and everything. And I'm surprised it's even that way on the corner though. I would expect that, you know, it happens sometimes because guys aren't paying attention on when pulling layout, but on a corner they should be spot on, and they are not. Now we are like straight across on the grid here, which is decent. That's pretty cool. But yeah, that sucks big time. And so I already have this stuff drilled out and ready to go. I am not going to be moving this over and making it out of square, so we're going to have to shim, we're going to have to pull this drywall back a little bit and shim it. So we'll pull, eventually this wall will go away. We'll have to loosen this drywall and kind of shim it over a little bit. And then finisher's going to have a fun time floating it, but that's what they're going to have to do. This is what separates the smart ones from the not so smart ones. A lot of the time, guys will take their tape measure and they'll just measure 5/8 on one side and screw it in and call it good. And that does not work because a lot of the time these flanges end up getting a little bent on the shipping process or just handling on the job site or whatever. They tend to get bent. So you can see right there, that got bent pretty good there. But if you only measure from one side, if it's a little bent, that shifts you off-centered all the way over. So even if you're perfect on the bottom, if you do it wrong at the top, your door is going to be cockeyed like this on the framing. And then when you go to sheetrock it, it's not going to want to fit. You might be good here, loose in the middle where it's not bent, good at the bottom, but then over here, it's going to be too tight to fit the sheetrock. And with your door being cockeyed, basically the way this is leaning right now, it's not going to open or close correctly either. And then you're going to have to rip it out, and that's no fun. So what you really want to do is take 2 pieces of scrap and not only put them in like that, but pinch them so that they're straight, like square, the way they would be when you rock the wall. Tack it with 1 screw. Then you come to the, you can either go center or bottom. Usually in a normal setup, this is a stud that goes all the way to the ground, so it's already held center at the bottom. So you could go to your middle, do the same thing. 1 screw, then come down to here, set 1 screw. Then go back, hit your other 3 screws into your clips. And that will make sure you are equal distance. It doesn't matter because one side might be bent or both sides might be bent. If both sides are bent, that's even worse when you go to try to put sheetrock in. But that way you know for a fact it is as centered, that frame is as centered on your framing as possible. So unless your framing is cockeyed, then your door is going to be as plumb as possible in your wall cavity. And that is exactly what you want. So that's best practice to do. No callbacks. 15 years. Alright, next is the fun part, which we did get this in. It helps to cut, at least cut that. You don't have to break it off, but at least cut it so it can flex. You can bend the bottom in towards itself a little. Pick this up over your door foot or floor clip up off the floor and slide it over tight to one side, and then that leaves you just enough room. You can get this in on there, bend your bottom in. Now we're in. There we go. Now we're sitting on the floor. Now it's time to get the laser. Looks like this is cockeyed for right now, so we'll have to tweak this. And see, we're sitting nearly tight right there. So obviously we're gonna have to rack it this way to get it square. But we are now sitting right there. So that's all the room I have to work with to get the floor anchors in, which is exactly why I pre-drilled the anchor holes, and it's still gonna be a monumental pain. So, but there we go. Doors in place. We'll check it with a laser, make sure it's nice and level, shim it if needed. Then we'll get a laser on the jambs, both sides, check both sides, always check both sides. And we'll rack it to get it squared up, and we'll put one screw in there once it's square, and then we'll run it down with screws. We'll make sure that it's also not bowed. You gotta, especially on double doors for sure, make sure it's not bowed on the hinges. If it is, push it in or pry it in or push it out, and then pop a screw in the middle, and then you can go both sides, couple framing screws, solid. Alright, this is what you want to see. This is where you want to set your laser and where you want your laser to be. And that's just air fluctuation. You got a lot of positive pressure on that side of the wall because that's a sterile corridor. And then got negative pressure on this side. But anyways, you want to set your laser right on that spine, that bend. Same thing when you're leveling your jamb, or squaring your jamb, I should say. You want to hit that spine because that is your strong point. That's going to be the straightest. You can have a little bit of flex in here. In fact, sometimes this will be kind of cupped a little bit. Don't use this, use that spine. Same thing here on your door head. Right here is not going to be as accurate because this is not welded straight across here. This can be bowed or cupped. So use this point because this is where your door is actually actuating. This is what your door actually has to clear. So you can see we're kind of lit up like Christmas here. The laser is splitting that almost perfectly across here, and even right here it's nearly perfect. So this side might need to go up just a pinch. But so what we're going to do is we're going to anchor this side first and see if it pulls it down, and then if it does, it'll look more like that, and then we'll just anchor this side, and if that goes down too, then we'll stick a small shim in there. But most likely this is going to be damn near perfect. If it lights up like Christmas like that, you're on the money. And that's how you're going to want to look on your jams too. And I forgot what I was going to say on that. When you set it, do the door side. Don't do the open side, do the door side. Because even if this is a little bit off, as long as your door side is good, you should clear no issues. Or you should have no issues with the door closing.